Hey, Happy New Year. It's Brian with Reclaimed Republic. If this is your first time here, I'm a full-time reseller. I sell on eBay and I sell everything. So I sell toys, tools, clothes, pots, pans, and just about everything in between. This week, we're going to talk about last week's sales. We're going to talk about total items sold, the net sales, profit, fees, shipping, all of that. Then we're going to talk about the worst 5 items that sold and the best 5 items that sold and get into the details surrounding those. If you want to see everything, every item I sell each week in detail, there are short videos. I'll put a link below to that playlist. It details everything that I sell every week. So let's get into the details. Christmas week was a little bit slower than it was the previous few weeks, which I fully expected. My listings were slowing down Christmas week. People are taking time with family, not as much shopping going on. You can't get Christmas presents from eBay to your house in time. So completely expected it, but was still really happy with the way the week turned out. So it was still a very good week for me. You'll see here, so I sold 32 items throughout the week for gross sales of $732.03. And then once you take out shipping, platform fees, ad fees, cost of goods, everything all in, I've got a pre-tax profit here of $378.53, or a 52% profit margin. So that profit margin is down a little bit. I wasn't selling a lot of higher dollar items necessarily during Christmas week. So whenever I get into the higher dollar items, I tend to make more profit margin because I try to keep my acquisition cost as low as possible whenever I'm buying, sourcing stuff at various places. So one thing to note, I talk about promoted listings a lot just to give people an idea of how it works for me. I'm not saying everybody should go promote their listings. It's just what I do. So of the 32 items that I sold last week, 22 items, or 69% of those items, were on a promoted listing. The week previous, it was at 70% promoted. So I'm kind of hanging around that 70% range in sales on promoted listings. Personally, I tend to promote at around 2 to 3% depending on the item. And then if items have a 50%-ish sell-through rate and are very saturated, there's a lot of them, then I may promote up to 5% just to keep my items higher in the ranking whenever people are viewing those. If items have a 100% or higher sell-through rate, I don't promote them. That's really kind of the details, the high-level details. So let's get into the worst 5 sales of the week. This was a fun one last week. It really kind of, I wasn't focusing a lot on my worst sales, but it really opened my eyes to something I think I already knew, but it really just put it in my face, is retail arbitrage, which is something that I'd done in the past, primarily at Ross, a little bit at some other stores, but primarily at Ross. I have so many Ross stores around me, and I was able to find lots of inventory, and I learned too late. Don't do that, at least for me. It's not my model. So I'm selling through it all. And last week, 3 of my worst 5 were from Ross. This week, 3 of my worst 5 were from Ross. So let's get into those. So my 5th worst sale of the week is this Neff Mickey Mouse pink boonie hat. I picked this up at Ross for $10, sold it for $15.91 plus shipping on an offer. Not a great sale. Ended up making $2.11 pre-tax profit on it. I think I have one more of those hats in inventory, and then we'll be out of those and can just move on from there. The 4th worst sale of the week are these Stance Star Wars socks, Darth Vader socks. I picked these up for $6 a pair and I've been selling them for $10.89 plus shipping. Those I'm just made 32 cents pre-tax profit, so I'm just basically getting my money back on those. I had one pair left whenever I sold them, and then in between then and shooting this video, I sold the last pair. So completely out of those now, and won't be doing that one again. That's something I've talked about, but something I'll say again is on retail arbitrage, especially in items like places like Ross, where a brand name that they don't normally have goes into those stores and they just flood it with merchandise. It also starts flooding eBay. So I was seeing it on the front end doing some comps and saw an opportunity to sell, bought the items. Some of them I held on to for a week or two before I got the pictures up and all the listings up, which was a mistake. So in retail arbitrage like that, in that scenario, you have to be really fast to cash in on those things hitting and getting a low buy cost right away. As soon as it starts getting flooded on eBay, the price starts getting driven down because everybody just says, oh, they're at that price, I'm going to go a little lower, and pretty soon you're not making any money like what's happening now. So for me, that's not the model I want to go for. I could buy tons of stuff at Ross and make a couple bucks per item and probably sell a lot of that, but it's a lot of capital to tie up. For me, it's too big of a risk, and I'm just not in that mode right now. So let's talk about the third worst sale of the week. Is this Disney store? It's the Sleeping Beauty or Cinderella, I don't remember which, 5 More Minutes cup. My wife and I picked this up at either a garage sale or thrift store, I don't remember, for $1. And we've had it for several years. Pulled it out of a tote. It had gotten unlisted somehow and put it back up, and just wanted to get it out. So sold it for $4.16 on an offer. Made 25 whole cents on it, 1 shiny quarter, and got my money back. Now I'm going to put that into more good inventory. It didn't have a lid, and I think when we picked it up at the time, we're like, oh, it's a tumbler. Well, it wasn't a tumbler. It was a hot cup, and it's supposed to have a lid on it, so it took the value down quite a bit. And anyhow, it sold. Glad to have that out of inventory. The second worst item of the week is this Rubbermaid. It's a Lazy Susan style. It holds thread spools for, if you're doing a lot of sewing. And when I bought it, I didn't notice that it was actually missing one of the posts, which takes the value down a little bit because there was better condition ones listed on eBay. And I also really messed myself up because I undershot the size of the box and a little bit on the weight. And those two things compounded doubled my shipping cost, just about, which killed the profit. I got it all packed up and I went to put the details in, and I saw the shipping costs, and I was thinking, man, do I tear it all apart and find a way to repack it smaller? And looking at the item, it's plastic. It's a lot of pieces that could get broken if you don't have it well protected. And I was like, you know what? I'd rather have a positive customer experience and just learn my lesson, be better next time, and get it out the door. So paid $2, sold it for $12.23 on an offer. You'll see the shipping up here. It wasn't great, and made a whole 17 cents on that. But I think in reselling, you either win or you learn, and I learned that time. So all right, and the worst sale of the week is this Kansas City Chiefs hat that I bought at Ross for $13. Sold it for $19.89. That one was plus shipping, but by the time the fees and the shipping and everything kicked in, I ended up losing $1.62 on that one. So there's not many that I actually lose money on, but this one I lost money on. In the grand scheme of things, it doesn't affect my business, $1.62. So I don't get bent out of shape or focus on it, or try to find a way to cram it into a bag to try to break even instead of a box. It was another, one of those things where I put it in a good sized box, packing paper around it, poly bag inside the box, so that I'm having a positive customer experience whenever they get it in the mail. Those are the 5 worst items that, not worst items, 5 worst profit items that I sold this week. There's some, cool items in there, but just not money makers for me. So let's now talk about the best 5 items. This is the fun part. A little bit more story time around the best 5 items. So we'll start here at the 5th best item of the week, and that's going to be this Calphalon 10-inch skillet. I think there is 2 items. The 5th and the 4th came from this same lot. I was at a garage sale and I bought this. I've told this story I think a couple times. There was this big tote that I saw like under a folding table at this garage sale, and this place was packed. You could barely walk in between the folding tables. And I looked down there and there was some dirt on the outside of the tote and everything was dusty and like cobwebs in there. But I slid the tote out and it was full of the heavy anodized aluminum Calphalon, and it was full of Reseller. So I saw it, and it was just packed in there, and all the lids were there. Everything looked pretty good. And I just asked them how much they wanted for the whole bin. And at first the lady looked at it, she goes, $50. And I was like, I said, well, I probably can't pay $50. And she goes, well, what do you want to pay? And I said, how about and I can't remember, it was either 20 or $25. And she goes, yeah, that's actually what I was thinking. So it ended up working out, and I got everything. There were some spare lids, and I got everything for around $2 per piece. So it was a pretty good deal. So I got these listed just prior to a couple weeks prior to Christmas. Got everything listed up and got this skillet out the door for $29.89, or for $20.21 pre-tax profit, or a 68% profit margin. So like seeing profit margins in the 60s and higher. That means I'm doing my job getting my cost in the right spot whenever I'm at 60 plus and above. So 4th best sale of the week from the same lot is this Reseller 12-inch skillet frying pan. This was a really nice piece. It had the disc bottom on it, which is kind of a heavy bottom that's like sits, it's a little thicker on the bottom. It's not just the regular pan bottom. So this one sold for $39.89 plus shipping, for a pre-tax profit of $25.94, or a 65% profit margin. So hanging around in those 60s again, really like to see that. This next item, after I picked it up, I wasn't sure how well it was going to do. It's this unbranded copper saucepan. So it's all copper, and whenever I looked, I just kind of glanced at it and I held it up. I said, how much? They said $3. So I just bought it. I wasn't sure. I didn't see any brands stamped on it, which kind of confused me a little bit. There's not many things you see like that aren't branded. So got it back, and turns out it was like an aluminum or tin, and even on the bottom of the pan and inside it was all scratched, and the copper had been scratched off, and you could see the base metal inside of it. And so I wasn't sure if it was actually going to be worth selling until I looked and I saw people selling that exact same saucepan in sold comps and in that same condition. People were buying them. So if you're going to display it or just hang it on a pot rack, no issue with that, especially if you're going to display it because you don't see the bottom. Really beautiful copper, nice heavy brass handle. So picked that up for $3, sold it for $37.89, plus shipping for a $28.06 pre-tax profit, or a 74% profit margin. That's where I really like to see the profit margins in the 70s. That means I'm even doing a better job keeping my buy costs down. Number two is a fun one. So bought this Stetson Roadrunner straw cowboy hat at an estate sale, and I was at the estate sale and they had price sheets everywhere. So you'd walk in, and in the bathroom it said, lotions and shampoos $1, coats and jackets this much, and it said baseball caps $4. And there were some baseball caps on the ground. And then I was in the closet and I'm looking at the clothes, and I walk out of the closet. I think it's my second or third time in this area of the house. I always walk through multiple times to see what I missed the first time or two I walked through. And I looked up, and on the top shelf, kind of tucked back by itself, was the straw cowboy hat. So I pulled it down, flipped it over, still had a price tag in the brim of the hat, still had the original tag in it, and it said Stetson, and it's John Stetson. It's a Stetson hat. And so I took it in, showed it to the lady running the estate sale. I said, hey, there's no price tag for cowboy hats. Is this the same price as a baseball cap? She goes, let me see this. And she flipped it around. She goes, oh, this is a Stetson. And I was like, crap, I'm done for. Because this is an estate sale. And it was the first day of the estate sale too. So she goes, well, what do you want to pay for it? I said, well, I want to pay $5 for it. And she goes, okay, deal. And I was shocked that she let it go for that. So picked that up. This is a really cool hat. If it fit me, I might have kept it, but it doesn't fit. But anyhow, picked that up for $5. Sold it for $55.92 on an offer for a $40.07 pre-tax profit, or a 72% profit margin. It was a nice one, and I packed the heck out of that thing. I wrapped it up. I put plastic over it, packing paper all around it. I just made sure it was. I even put some fragile stickers on the box for that one, just because I want to make sure it gets to where it's going intact. And then the best item of the week. This is just like number two. So looking around where other people aren't looking, paying attention to your surroundings when you're at sales. When you're at garage sales and estate sales, there's usually, a lot of times, stuff is so packed in because people don't take the time to just spread it all out perfectly. You have to pay attention to everything. So, walk around the same area 2, 3, 4 times. Look up high, look down low, under tables, on top of cabinets. It's just because people run out of stuff, places to put stuff, and they just start putting things everywhere. So I was at this garage sale, and I had walked around. This guy had all these folding tables set up, and I walked around a couple times, and then I think my second time around, I looked down, and there were some really dusty old plastic boxes, and I pulled them out thinking they were had tools inside of them. Well, they weren't. They were just empty toolboxes. So they're called truck boxes. So they're made to either go like under a seat or behind a seat in pickup trucks. And I've seen them before. I didn't know a lot about them. So there's the big one, and then I opened it. There was a small one inside. I've already sold the small one. Sold that 3 or 4 weeks ago for $40 plus shipping. But this one, this large one here, I looked it up, and oddly enough, it had there was 4 or 5 that had sold. There was none listed, and I thought, man, it's going to sell instantly. I had it listed for 5 weeks, I think. I did price it slightly higher than the last one that sold, not by about $5. So I just waited and waited, and even sent out a couple offers, and nobody bid on the offers, but then somebody, eventually they bought it at full price. So paid $2 for the box, sold it for $54.89 plus shipping for a pre-tax profit of $43.07. and a 78% profit margin. Best profit margin of the week. So that was a killer sale. I really like seeing that one go out the door. And because of the size, I didn't really have boxes that fit it. So I actually just bubble wrapped it, pretty well, all the way around it, and then around the perimeter, just every way you could bubble wrap it, with about 4 wraps of small bubble. And then I took a black plastic, like I have the 3 mil utility garbage bags that I'll use for yard waste and stuff like that. And I put it on one side in the corner. I trimmed off the top of the bag, and then I rolled it up, and then I put plenty of tape all around it. So it looked like a giant poly bag essentially. And those things ship well like that. They're well protected. They're very sturdy anyhow. So with the bubble wrap, it's in good shape. And shipped that one FedEx home delivery because of the awkward dimension. Not necessarily because of the weight, but the awkward dimension. It is actually cheaper to ship something like that FedEx home delivery. So that's really everything for this week. I'm getting prepared for 2025. I should already be prepared, but had a lot of stuff going on. A lot of home projects I've been working on in addition to reselling. So I'm working on some plans for 2025, my goals, and really getting into the details there so I can make sure I'm hitting my benchmarks where I want to be towards the end of 2025. So I'm looking for some pretty serious growth, but the work has to go in ahead of the growth to get there. So I'm really looking forward to it. If you enjoy content like this, check out, I've got some other videos below talking about weekly sales from past weeks. If you find any value in this, you might consider subscribing. It's free to you. And it'll let you know whenever new videos come up that get posted. I'm posting 4 or 5 shorts a week and 2 to 3 full-length videos. If you have any questions or comments, please leave those below. I will get back to you, usually within a couple hours, but I'll get right back to you. I hope you have a great day. Hope you have a happy new year. Thanks.